Most people are not weak by nature. They are trained to stay small. Becoming a monster is not about anger, noise, or acting tough. It is about becoming someone who cannot be controlled by comfort, fear, or excuses. Everyday life tests you in quiet ways. You wake up tired. You avoid the hard task. You choose what feels good instead of what builds you over time. Those small choices decide who you become. This video is not here to make you feel good for a moment. It is here to wake something up inside you. The part of you that knows you are capable of more. The part that is tired of starting over. The part that wants strength, focus, and control. A monster is not born. A monster is built through discipline, pressure, and daily decisions. Built by facing yourself honestly. Built by doing what most people avoid. Built by mastering your habits, your emotions, and your reactions. If you are done living on autopilot and ready to take full control of your life, stay with this video. What you hear next can change how you think, act, and live starting today. Chapter 1. Claim full control over your impulses. I want to speak to you as someone who has watched human behavior for a lifetime and learned one thing very clearly: that your life moves in the direction of what you allow and what you refuse. Becoming a monster is not about hurting others or losing control. It is about gaining control. It is about becoming so strong inside that impulses no longer run your life. Most people are not ruined by big mistakes. They are drained by small choices repeated every day. The extra snack when the body does not need it. The angry reply that damages trust. The hour wasted when the work mattered. These are impulses. They feel small in the moment and expensive over time. Human beings are emotional first. That is not a flaw. That is how we are built. But the danger begins when emotion becomes the boss. When impulse gives orders and discipline takes notes. If you want to become powerful, you must reverse that relationship. Discipline gives orders and impulse learns to wait. That is not easy. It requires awareness and honesty. Most people avoid those two things because they are uncomfortable. Growth always asks for discomfort before it gives reward. Every impulse promises relief. Relief from boredom. Relief from pressure. Relief from effort. But relief is a poor life strategy. Relief gives comfort now and regret later. Control gives effort now and pride later. You feel it in your chest when you finish what you did not want to start. You feel it in your walk when you keep a promise no one else saw. That feeling is self-respect being built. Self-respect is not something you demand from others. It is something you earn from yourself. You do not wake up one day with full control. Control is trained. It is practiced in moments no one applauds. It begins with noticing. Noticing when your hand reaches for the phone without reason. Noticing when your mouth wants to speak before your mind checks the cost. Noticing when your body wants comfort while your future needs progress. Awareness is the first step. Without awareness, there is no choice. Without choice, there is no power. Once you notice an impulse, you must pause. A pause feels small, but it changes everything. In that pause, you ask one simple question. Will this help the person I want to become? Not the person you are today, but the person you are building. If the answer is no, then you already know what must be done. Walk away. Close the app. Stay quiet. Do the work. That moment is where monsters are made. Not loud, not dramatic. Silent decisions that build strength. People often wait for motivation. That is a mistake. Motivation is emotional and emotions change. Control must work. Even when motivation disappears, you cannot wait to feel like it. You act because you decided who you are. Identity drives behavior. If you see yourself as someone who cannot control urges, then you will prove yourself right. If you decide that you are someone who acts with intention, then your behavior will follow slowly and then suddenly. The mind believes what you repeatedly show it. Each time you resist an impulse, you send a message. The message says, I am in charge. At first, the mind resists. It wants the old patterns. It wants ease. But over time, it adapts. It begins to trust your leadership. That is when discipline feels lighter. Not easy but lighter. You are no longer arguing with yourself all day. You decide and move. Control over impulses also means control over reactions. Many people lose years of progress because of one emotional outburst. A single angry moment can damage a relationship built over years. A single careless response can close a door that took months to open. Power is calm. Calm allows thinking. Thinking allows better outcomes. This is not weakness. This is mastery. If you want to build this mastery, you must practice small wins. Do not start with extreme changes. Start with simple control. Wake up when the alarm rings. Finish the task you said you would finish. Eat with intention. Speak with purpose. These are not small habits. They shape your character. Character determines destiny more than talent ever will. Your environment matters. If you surround yourself with constant temptation, you will fight harder than necessary. Remove what weakens you. Put distance between you and the things that drain your focus. This is not avoidance. This is strategy. Strong people design their environment to support discipline. Weak people rely on willpower alone and burn out. There will be days you fail. That is part of being human. Failure does not disqualify you. Quitting does. When you slip, you do not punish yourself. You reset. You learn. You return to control. Shame keeps people stuck. Responsibility moves people forward. Own the moment and move on. Becoming a monster means becoming reliable to yourself. When you say you will do something, you do it. When you say no, you mean it. This creates inner confidence, not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that does not seek approval. The kind that shows in posture and presence. People feel it when you walk into a room. They may not know why, but they sense stability. Life will test your control during stress. Stress reveals habits. If your habits are weak, stress will expose them. If your habits are strong, stress will prove them. Prepare during calm moments. Train when life is quiet, so you stand firm when it gets loud. Do not wait for crisis to build character. You were not born to be ruled by every urge. You were born with the ability to choose. Choice is your greatest power. When you claim it daily, you change the direction of your life slowly at first, then completely. The person you admire is not different from you. They simply practiced control longer. Make a decision today, not an emotional promise, a clear decision. Decide that impulses no longer run your schedule, your mouth, your habits, or your future. Decide that comfort does not outrank purpose. Decide that short-term pleasure will not steal long-term pride. This is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming solid, present, intentional. When you control yourself, you become someone others can rely on. A parent who leads, a partner who listens, a worker who delivers, a human who stands steady. The world does not need more noise. It needs more people who can govern themselves. Start here in the next moment with the next choice. Claim control. Hold it. Practice it. This is how you become a monster in the best sense of the word. Strong inside. Calm under pressure. Dangerous to excuses. Loyal to growth. Chapter 2. Harden your mind against weakness daily. I want to talk to you about the quiet battle that happens every single day inside your head. This is not a loud fight. No one sees it. No one claps for it. Yet this battle decides the strength of your future. Weakness does not usually arrive as failure. It arrives as hesitation, as delay, as a soft voice that says, tomorrow will be easier. That voice sounds reasonable. It sounds caring, but it slowly steals your edge. The mind is not naturally strong. It is naturally protective. Its job is to keep you safe, not to help you grow. Safety and growth are not the same thing. Growth demands effort. Effort feels uncomfortable, so the mind looks for ways to avoid it. This is not a flaw. This is human nature. But if you allow nature to lead without guidance, you stay average. Strength comes when you train the mind instead of obeying it. Hardening the mind does not mean becoming angry or closed off. It means becoming steady. It means building the ability to stay with discomfort without running away. Most people break not because the task is impossible but because they leave too early. They stop when things feel heavy. They quit when the effort starts to demand more than comfort allows. Every day your mind looks for exits. It looks for relief. It looks for permission to slow down. If you listen without question, you weaken your ability to endure. If you challenge those thoughts, you strengthen your ability to persist. The challenge does not have to be dramatic. It can be simple. Stay a little longer. Try one more time. Finish the last step. These moments build inner hardness. Weakness often disguises itself as logic. It says rest when rest is not needed. It says avoid when facing the issue would solve it. It says protect feelings instead of protecting progress. You must learn to separate real limits from imagined ones. Real limits are physical or moral. Imagined limits are emotional. Emotional limits move when pressed. Physical ones do not. Hard minds are built through exposure. You do not harden the mind by thinking about strength. You harden it by doing things that demand presence. Things that require attention when you would rather escape. Work that forces you to focus. Conversations that require honesty. Silence that forces you to sit with yourself. These experiences sharpen you. Many people try to feel strong before they act. That order never works. Strength follows action. Confidence follows completion. Clarity follows effort. Waiting to feel ready is another form of weakness. Dressed as patience. Action, even when uncertain, trains the mind to move forward despite doubt. Your inner dialogue matters more than you realize. The way you speak to yourself becomes the environment your mind lives in. If the language is soft and forgiving at the wrong moments, you stay soft. If the language is firm and respectful, you grow. This does not mean insult. It means direction. Clear instructions given with authority. Finish the task. Stay present. Do not quit. Hardening the mind also means reducing unnecessary stimulation. A distracted mind is a fragile mind. Constant noise shortens attention. Short attention reduces tolerance. When tolerance drops, weakness rises. Protecting your focus protects your strength. Give your mind space to work deeply. Depth builds endurance. There will be moments when you want to stop, not because you cannot continue, but because you are uncomfortable. This is the exact moment training is happening. When you stay in that moment without drama, you rewire your response. You teach yourself that discomfort is not danger. Once the mind learns this lesson, it stops panicking so quickly. Weakness loves company. It grows when surrounded by voices that excuse laziness and justify quitting. Be careful who you listen to during hard moments. Some advice sounds kind but leads to retreat. Strength requires examples, not excuses. Look to people who live with standards, not those who avoid effort. Mental hardness is built through routine. Routine removes decision fatigue. When action is scheduled, weakness has fewer opportunities to negotiate. You do not ask if you will do the work. You do it because it is time. This simplicity creates power. Complexity creates delay. Hard people are not always intense. They are consistent. They show up when it matters. They keep going when enthusiasm fades. They do not require constant encouragement. They understand that growth is quiet most days. This understanding keeps them moving when others stop. You must also learn to endure boredom. Boredom is where many people abandon progress. When results are slow, the mind looks for excitement elsewhere. Staying focused during slow periods is a form of strength few develop. Yet those who do create lasting results. Hardening the mind means accepting that not every day feels good. Some days feel flat, some feel heavy. Expecting constant motivation creates disappointment. Accepting normal emotional variation creates resilience. You continue regardless of mood. There is pride that comes from knowing you did not give in. It is not loud pride. It is internal. It changes how you carry yourself. That pride becomes fuel during the next challenge. You remember that you endured before. This memory strengthens future resolve. You do not need to become someone else. You need to become more disciplined with who you already are. Your potential is unlocked through structure, not emotion, through repetition, not inspiration. Through commitment, not excitement. Each day gives you chances to choose strength. They are small and easy to ignore, but collected over time. They shape your identity. Identity determines behavior. Behavior determines outcome. Harden the mind daily and weakness loses influence. This path is not glamorous. It is quiet. It is personal. It is demanding. But it leads to freedom. Freedom from excuses. Freedom from regret. Freedom from being controlled by passing feelings. When you harden your mind, you become dependable. Others trust you. More importantly, you trust yourself. That trust is rare. That trust is power. Chapter 3. Train yourself to act without emotion. Every time you hold back because you don't feel like it, you give your emotions the final say. That choice might feel harmless in the moment, but it builds a habit that weakens your ability to lead your life with purpose. Emotions are real, but they should never be the ones running the show. If you want to become something stronger, sharper, more stable, you have to train yourself to act. Even when every emotion tells you not to. Most people don't realize how deeply emotions shape their decisions. They say they're tired, so they skip the work. They feel discouraged, so they stop trying. They feel anxious, so they don't take the shot. Over time, their actions become nothing more than a reaction to whatever they feel. That's not strength. That's not leadership. That's not growth. If your behavior always depends on how you feel, you'll always be limited by your lowest days. You don't build a solid life by waiting for the right mood. You build it by doing the right things in any mood. This is a skill. It's not easy, but it can be trained like anything else. You train it by doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, no matter what's going on inside you. The alarm goes off. You get up. You said you'd show up. You do. You planned the task. You start it. No negotiation. No debate. No emotional permission required. It's not about ignoring your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about refusing to let them block your actions. You can feel unmotivated and still move forward. You can feel nervous and still speak up. You can feel frustrated and still stay calm. Strength doesn't mean being emotionless. It means staying steady in the middle of them. That steadiness only comes through practice. Every time you follow through without needing to feel good, you're teaching your nervous system a powerful lesson. This is what we do now. You're creating a new response pattern. Clears throat. The mind starts to learn that action isn't optional and that emotions are just part of the environment, not the driver of the decision. You no longer wait to feel ready. You get up and do the work because it matters. That's when real growth begins. Some people say they want to become better, but then they keep waiting for energy, for peace, for clarity, for motivation. Life doesn't reward that kind of waiting. The people who grow fast and build strong character are the ones who act while carrying all those feelings. They stop relying on external or internal permission to move. They just move. That's power. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad, bored, irritated, or low. That's part of being human. But if those feelings are allowed to shape your daily actions, they will eventually shape your entire life. A powerful person doesn't try to escape their emotions. They simply don't allow them to control the schedule. You can cry and still finish what you started. You can be stressed and still follow through. You can be uncomfortable and still move forward. Start small. Don't try to fight every emotion all at once. Just choose one area of your life where you've been too reactive. Notice when the emotions show up. You'll feel resistance, hesitation, or discomfort. Good. That's your signal. That's the training ground. In that moment, override the feeling with action. Not because it feels good, but because it's necessary. That one act builds discipline. Stack enough of them and you become someone others can depend on. More importantly, you become someone you can depend on. When you train yourself to act without emotion, you clears throat also protect your energy. Emotions drain people because they're constantly evaluating whether they want to do something or not. That constant mental tug of war steals focus and time. When you've trained yourself to act no matter what, you conserve that energy for doing, not for deciding. Emotionally led people say things like, "I don't feel like it today," or, "I'm just not in the zone." Purpose-led people say, "This matters, so I'll do it anyway." That shift in mindset turns you from someone who reacts to life into someone who builds life. You start to trust yourself deeply because you know your actions don't change just because your mood does. That's rare. That's valuable. Training yourself to act without emotion also helps in high-pressure moments. When stakes are high, emotions are even louder. If you've never practiced acting through discomfort, you'll freeze. You'll overthink. You'll wait too long. But if you've already trained yourself to move through hesitation, those moments won't throw you off. You'll know exactly what to do because you've been doing it for weeks, months, years. You've conditioned yourself to act on what's right, not on what's easy. People will often misunderstand this approach. They'll call it cold or robotic, but they miss the point. You're not acting without emotion because you lack heart. You're doing it because you've chosen purpose over momentary feeling. You've chosen to show up as the person you want to be, not just the person you feel like today. That choice builds a kind of strength you can't fake. It comes through when you speak. It's visible in your consistency. It earns. There's freedom in knowing that your emotions don't get to decide your limits. That freedom comes with responsibility. You can't blame your mood anymore. You can't hide behind bad days. You're now responsible for your actions in every state. That's the weight of real maturity. Not perfection, not pretending, just ownership. You don't have to be harsh with yourself, but you do have to be honest. Are you leading your life, or are your emotions running the show? Every time you say, "I'll do it later," because you're tired, that's your emotions making the call. Every time you avoid the hard conversation, because it feels uncomfortable, that's emotion again. Catch it, pause, then act anyway. That is how strength is built. Not by avoiding emotion, but by moving through it. You won't get this perfect. That's not the goal. The goal is to improve your ratio. More days where you act without needing to feel perfect. More moments where you override hesitation. More wins created by choice, not chance. Over time, you'll notice a shift. Your mind becomes clearer. Your body becomes more disciplined. Your path becomes more stable. That stability allows you to take bigger risks, make better decisions, and lead a life you respect. You have what it takes. You've always had it. You just need to stop waiting to feel good and start doing what's right. Action without emotion is not emotionless. It's fearless. It's mature. It's focused. You don't lose your soul. You find it buried under years of reacting. Dig it out. Choose to lead. Train the habit. Follow through. This is how people rise. Quietly, daily, relentlessly. Chapter 4. Build inner aggression and control it. There's a fire inside every person. Some people suppress it. Some ignore it, some pretend it doesn't exist. But a few people they learn to control it. And those are the ones who become powerful. That fire is aggression, not violence, snorts not rage, but a deep driving intensity to move forward, to take ownership, to conquer weakness, to push back against anything trying to hold them down. Most people spend their lives avoiding that side of themselves because they were never taught how to use it. But if you want to become strong in a world that constantly tries to soften you, you have to build inner aggression and know exactly how to control it. There are days where you wake up and feel nothing, flat, empty, like your body is there, but your energy is missing. And if you don't know how to turn on something deeper, you'll drift. You'll coast through the day doing just enough to survive, but never enough to grow. That's when you need that inner aggression. It's not anger. It's not ego. It's pressure that you place on yourself to rise on demand. Aggression is often misunderstood. It isn't about attacking others. It's about attacking the problem. It's about showing up to the task with full intensity, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Most people have the tools, they just don't use them with force. They try, but not hard enough. They show up, but halfway, and they wonder why they don't break through. It's because they're operating in low gear. Inner aggression is the gear that changes that. But here's the truth. Uncontrolled aggression destroys. It burns bridges. It damages trust. It turns power into chaos. That's why the second part of this chapter matters just as much as the first. You must build it, but you must control it. Think about a flood with no direction. Clears throat all that force causes destruction. Now, think about that same energy redirected through a dam driving power, electricity, movement. That's what your aggression can become if you train it. You build it by first getting tired of holding back. That moment when you realize you're capable of more but haven't tapped into it. You start by demanding more from yourself, not in a loud way, but in a focused one. You speak to yourself differently. You stop giving yourself soft exits. You stop lowering the bar because of how you feel. You start raising it because of what you believe you're supposed to be. Inner aggression is built by doing what you usually avoid. Hard conversations, intense workouts, focused silence, long hours without distraction. Every time you face something you'd rather skip, you're adding fuel to that fire. But it's not enough to just feel that energy. You must aim it. Control comes from structure. You need routines, rules, standards that channel your force into useful results. When you feel frustration, don't let it leak out in random bursts. Put it into your actions. Let it tighten your focus. When you feel pressure, don't let it break you. Let it bring out your sharpest self. This is where emotional intelligence meets intensity. You don't react, you respond with force, with direction, with calm control. Train your body to work. When your mind resists, that builds internal friction. And that friction creates heat. That heat is aggression. If you've never worked past the point where your body screams stop, then you've never touched this part of yourself. But when you do, when you keep moving, even though everything in you says quit, you awaken something that cannot be turned off. It changes your identity. You stop being the type of person who folds under discomfort. You stop avoiding things that are hard. You start approaching everything with one question. How can I push this further? Not recklessly, not emotionally, but with calculated drive. That's the key. Aggression must be paired with thinking. It's energy guided by reason. And when you pair those two, you become unshakable. There will be people who won't understand this mindset. They'll say you're too intense, too obsessed. That's fine. Most people are too passive, too relaxed about their goals, too lazy when things get inconvenient. You don't need their approval, you need your results. Let your life be proof that aggression in the right hands doesn't destroy, it builds. Sometimes you'll feel like your emotions are pulling you in too many directions. One part of you wants to rest. Another part wants to avoid the work. Another wants to scroll your phone and forget the day. That's when you shift into a different mode. You activate the side of you that doesn't care how you feel. The side of you that sees the assignment and executes it fully. That's what this is about. Not feeling better, but being stronger. Control doesn't mean suppressing. You don't push aggression down. You sharpen it. You make it work for you. You teach it to show up only when needed and leave when done. You don't carry it into your relationships or your casual moments. You keep it stored, protected, and ready. And when it's time to perform, to protect, to push, you let it out with control. That's discipline, that's power, with purpose. Train this daily, not just through speech, but through effort. Choose one thing every day. That requires force, and finish it with full effort. Don't coast. Don't aim for done. Aim for conquered. That one habit separates the average from the elite. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing a few things with intensity and full focus. Eventually, that fire inside you will no longer feel wild. It will feel familiar. It will feel like a tool you own. And the confidence that comes from that is something no one can give you and no one can take. You will walk different, speak different, move different because you will know that when life tests you, you don't collapse. You rise not with panic but with pressure. Building inner aggression and controlling it is not something you finish. It's something you maintain daily quietly in tension. And the more you do, the more you will notice a deep shift in how you live. You won't need motivation. You won't need comfort. You will have your own fire. You will not be easy to shake. You will not be easy to stop. That is what makes you a monster. Not anger, not chaos, but the ability to summon unmatched energy on command and aim it with full control. This is your edge. This is your fuel. Build it, control it, use it. Chapter 5. Stop negotiating with your lazy side. Every time you wake up and hesitate, that voice shows up. It tells you 5 more minutes won't hurt. It says you've earned a break. It whispers that the work can wait. That voice is not your friend. It's not your conscience. It's the lazy side of you trying to survive. And as long as you keep giving it space to speak and letting it negotiate your decisions, it will keep controlling the pace of your life. If you want to become sharp, effective, respected, and unshakable, you have to stop giving that voice a seat at the table. You have to stop negotiating with your lazy side. That lazy side of you is clever. It doesn't sound like weakness. It sounds like logic. It tells you you're tired. It tells you to rest. It tells you that pressure is unhealthy. It speaks in a calm, reasonable tone. But that's how it gets in. That's how it takes control of your time, your habits, your identity. It starts small. Skip one workout, delay one task, push one goal to next week. But what feels like one tiny decision becomes a pattern, and that pattern becomes your life. The worst part is that most people never realize what's happening. They think they're making wise choices. They think they're being patient with themselves, but they're not. They're just constantly giving the lazy side the power to decide. And when laziness gets power, growth dies. You can't argue with that voice. If you try to reason with it, it will always win because it's always going to say what sounds easy. And in the short term, easy always feels better. That's why negotiation is a trap. You have to cut it off. You have to create a rule inside yourself. When it's time to move, I move. Not because I feel ready. Not because it's fun, but because I said I would. You're not acting based on feelings. You're acting based on decisions. That's where personal strength starts to grow. You replace the emotional reaction with automatic execution. You don't pause to ask yourself if you're in the mood. You don't debate with your comfort. You don't ask for a second opinion. You move. You move because the person you're building doesn't answer to laziness anymore. Start observing yourself closely. When do you tend to delay? What moments do you avoid? What type of tasks make you stall? Notice them, then don't explain them away. Own them. Laziness hides behind excuses. It hides behind stories. You've told yourself these stories for years. I don't work well in the mornings, or I need to be in the right mindset, or I'll start strong on Monday. All of those are negotiations. And every time you say yes to them, you make that lazy side stronger. You don't beat laziness with hype or short-term motivation. You beat it with discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done whether you want or not. It's a quiet agreement with your future. Discipline doesn't yell. It doesn't rush. It just shows up and finishes. And when you live with that mindset, the lazy part of you starts to shrink. It stops speaking so loud because it realizes it's not being listened to anymore. Build structure around your decisions. Wake up at the same time every day. Decide your schedule in advance. Remove the need for daily choices, because the more chances you give that lazy side to bargain, the more it will win. Structure removes negotiation. It forces execution. And that is what builds momentum. Your goals don't care how you feel. Your future doesn't care if you're in the mood. The life you want doesn't wait for ideal conditions. It waits for you to stop stalling. It waits for action. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting for years. Readiness is a myth. You get ready by doing. You get confident by acting. You get disciplined by finishing. People around you might not notice these small negotiations, but you do. You feel it in the way you carry yourself. You feel it when you make promises and don't keep them. You feel it when you choose comfort and regret it later. That silent frustration, that inner conflict, that's your real self calling you out. And you should listen to it. Not with shame, but with honesty. You don't need to punish yourself. You need to outgrow yourself. Outgrow the excuses. Outgrow the waiting. Outgrow the cycle of starting strong and fading out. You are not a victim of laziness. You are someone who simply hasn't trained full control yet. And control doesn't mean intensity. It means consistency. Control starts when you cut off the conversation. When you wake up and don't allow thoughts like maybe later to stick around. When you sit down to work and don't entertain the pull to scroll or distract yourself. When you feel that voice say skip today and you shut it down without debate. That's what stopping negotiation looks like. You'll have moments where that lazy side feels louder than usual. Maybe it's after a hard week. Maybe it's after a win that voice gets clever. It says you deserve to relax. It says you've done enough. That's when you have to be sharp. You remind yourself that success isn't a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's not about doing it once. It's about doing it again and again. Discipline doesn't remove rest. It removes laziness. Rest is earned. Laziness is offered. Learn the difference. Rest gives you energy. Laziness takes it. When you build your life around clear action, rest becomes sweeter. Because it wasn't stolen, it was earned. That balance builds pride. Not loud pride, quiet pride. The kind you feel when you go to sleep knowing you didn't take shortcuts. You will feel resistance. That's normal. You're not weak for feeling it. You're only weak if you let it decide for you. The goal is not to eliminate resistance. The goal is to act anyway. Over time, resistance fades. What used to take effort becomes automatic. Not because life gets easier, but because you got stronger. Don't underestimate the cost of these small negotiations. They add up. They become patterns. And those patterns shape your entire life. Stop bargaining with the part of you that wants to stay still. Start listening to the part of you that wants to grow. That voice may be quieter, but it's the one that tells the truth. You have one job. Show up. Not perfectly, not always at full speed, just consistently. Every time you do, you weaken the lazy side. Every time you finish a task you didn't want to start, you become more reliable. And that reliability, that's how monsters are built. Not overnight, but daily through unshakable action. This chapter is not about becoming a machine. It's about becoming a leader of your own life. And leaders don't negotiate with habits that hold them back. They remove them. They replace them. And they don't look back. Because once you taste what it feels like to live without giving in, you'll never want to go back to waiting for permission. Chapter 6. Condition your brain to embrace effort. Your brain is not built for effort by default. It's built for survival. It's wired to seek comfort, avoid pain, and choose the path of least resistance. That might have helped thousands of years ago when life was about avoiding threats and staying alive. But today, that same system can hold you back. If you don't retrain it, you will keep pulling away from the very actions that move you forward. You'll flinch at challenge. You'll back off when it gets hard. You'll stay stuck in patterns that feel safe, but lead nowhere. That's why you must condition your brain to embrace effort. Not just tolerate it, but lean into it. Effort is the trigger that activates growth. Without it, you stay the same. You can read all the books, plan all the steps, talk about your goals non-stop, but if there's no real effort behind it, it means nothing. People admire results, But most don't realize those results are built on thousands of moments where effort was chosen over ease. The decision to push, the choice to stay focused, the refusal to quit early, those are the bricks of every strong life. And your brain needs to stop seeing those moments as threats. It needs to see them as normal. You do that by removing the drama around hard things. Most people don't just feel effort. They overthink it. They build it up in their head. They make it bigger than it is. And that triggers resistance. Resistance leads to delay. Delay leads to avoidance. You break that cycle by teaching your brain that effort is part of the job. You expect it. You don't debate it. You start acting as if work is supposed to be hard because it is. Not every moment, but often enough that you need to get used to it. Training your brain starts with exposure. You put yourself into effort on purpose. You don't wait until life forces it. You pick the early morning even when your bed is warm. You complete the task when your energy is low. You finish the workout when your legs are tired. That choice sends a message to your brain. This is who I am now. Not someone who waits for perfect conditions, but someone who creates results by showing up with effort regardless of the conditions. And the key is repetition. One hard choice doesn't change you. 100 to 1,000 lock it in. Every time you respond to difficulty with more focus instead of avoidance, you are rewriting your default response. You're building mental muscle. The brain adapts based on what it sees repeatedly. If it sees you flinch every time something hard shows up, it learns to panic. But if it sees you calm, steady, and locked in when effort is required, it stops resisting. It begins to cooperate. You don't need to love the pain. You just need to stop fearing it. That fear is what leads to hesitation. And hesitation is the silent killer of progress. You feel the resistance and instead of moving through it, you pause. And in that pause, all your old thoughts creep back in. You start thinking about how tired you are, how long it will take, how you might fail. That's where people break, not from the effort itself, but from the pause before it. You need to shrink that pause. You feel the resistance and you act fast, clean, without overanalyzing. That's conditioning. That's how you reprogram the part of your brain that's been trained to back down. You replace delay with decisiveness. You turn hesitation into motion, even if you're not perfect. You build the habit of movement, and momentum always beats perfection. There's also something powerful that happens when your brain starts connecting effort with reward. At first it hates but when it starts seeing the results, better energy, stronger habits, higher respect, more control, it starts craving that feeling. That shift takes time, but once it clicks, you become dangerous because now you're someone who doesn't just handle hard work. You hunt it. You stop running from the process. You run straight into it. And it's not about always pushing to the extreme. It's about consistency, about daily decisions that prove you're not ruled by how easy something is. That's the trap most people fall into. They associate effort with punishment, with failure, with frustration. But in reality, effort is the clearest sign that you're on the path to something better. And if you can build a mindset that welcomes it, you give yourself a massive edge. You also stop being afraid of being uncomfortable. That fear holds more people back than anything else. They want progress without struggle. They want growth without pressure. That doesn't exist. The people who break through are the ones who've gotten comfortable being uncomfortable. They feel the resistance and move anyway. They show up even when motivation is gone. And that mindset turns them into machines of discipline. The goal isn't to work non-stop without rest. The goal is to build a brain that doesn't shut down the moment things get real. That's strength. That's maturity. That's what separates those who succeed from those who just talk about it. You condition your brain by acting on what matters, not what feels good. And over time, that discipline becomes second nature. You become someone who's reliable, who doesn't fold under pressure, who doesn't need handholding or constant motivation. And the confidence that comes from that kind of personhood is something no shortcut will ever give you. It's earned. And the way you earn it is through effort. You need to stop asking whether something will be easy. That's not the question. The question is, will this move me forward? If the answer is yes, you do it. If it's hard, that's fine. If it's uncomfortable, that's part of the deal. That shift removes the emotional blocks and replaces them with clarity. And clarity is powerful. It removes the back and forth. It creates forward motion. Even on bad days, you can show up even when tired. You can take one more step even when uncertain. You can do the next right thing. That's the mindset that builds people who can't be broken easily. That's how you earn your own respect. There's nothing more valuable than knowing you're capable of effort at will. Not because of the mood, not because of the weather, not because everything is perfect, but because you decided your future is worth it. Start small. Make it non-negotiable. When you say you'll do it, do no matter what. Train your brain like a muscle. Expose it to effort. Teach it that this is normal and keep repeating until it stops resisting. You'll look back in a few months and barely recognize the way you used to think. That's what conditioning does. It changes the wiring. It makes you strong, steady, ready, not just for now, but for life. And once your brain knows that effort is part of who you are, there is no limit to what you can take on and make your own. Chapter 7. Develop ruthless focus on your goals. Most people want to achieve big things but live with small focus. They set goals, get excited, take a few steps, and then get distracted, pulled off track by noise, by comfort, by other people's priorities. They let anything and everything grab their attention, and then they wonder why nothing moves. If you want to actually reach your goals, not just talk about them, not just fantasize about them, you have to develop ruthless focus, not casual, not part-time, ruthless. That means you remove anything that isn't the goal. You protect your time like it's your life because in many ways it is. You can't build anything strong if your attention is scattered. Progress doesn't come from trying a little bit of everything. It comes from going all in on what matters. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient every day. You don't get stronger by dipping your toe in. You get stronger by diving deep into one direction, one priority, one outcome. To develop ruthless focus, you first need clarity. You need to know exactly what you want. Not just in your head, but on paper, in writing, in front of you. If your goals live in your mind, they'll get lost in the noise. The brain is not built to hold vision. It's built to survive the moment. You need a target you can look at when distractions show up. You need a direction that pulls you out of weakness when it tries to creep back in. Once you have clarity, cut the excess. This is where most people hesitate. They want to keep everything and still move forward. You can't. Not if you want real results. Cut the extra obligations. Cut the habits that drain your time. Cut the relationships that pull you backward. Focus is not just about doing. It's about removing. It's about deciding what doesn't matter and being okay with walking away from it. You can't live for everything and succeed at anything. You have to choose. Choosing means saying no a lot. It means ignoring trends. It means missing out on comfort. But every time you say no to something small, you're saying yes to something great. And that trade is always worth it. If you're serious about your goals, you must protect your mental space just as much as your calendar. Don't wake up and start scrolling. Don't let your brain be filled with other people's lives before you've taken care of your own. Set your mind before the world gets to it. Feed it direction. Give it instruction. Focus is a skill, not a feeling. You train it like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Structure your day to serve your goal. Don't just hope you'll find time. Block time on purpose. Wake up with a clear plan. Start with the most important task, not the easiest one. Remove decisions by deciding in advance. The more you leave to chance, the more likely distraction wins. Take ownership of your schedule. You don't find time, you make it. Build environments that help you focus. Clean workspace, limited apps, no noise. You don't get bonus points for fighting distraction all day. Make it easy to do the right thing. And don't depend on willpower. Depend on systems. Willpower runs out. Systems keep running. Learn to work deeply. That means no checking messages every few minutes. No jumping between tasks. Pick one thing. Stay with it. Finish it. Real results come from deep work, not busy work. Most people stay busy to avoid the work that actually matters. They confuse motion with progress. Don't fall for that. Ruthless focus means you don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right things fully. You'll feel resistance when you focus. That's normal. The brain craves stimulation, not discipline. It wants easy hits of dopamine. It wants comfort. But focus is not about feeling good. It's about doing what's necessary. The more you ignore the craving for constant stimulation, the more peace you build in your own mind. And that peace makes focus easier. You will have people around you who won't understand your focus. They'll say you're too obsessed, too unavailable, too intense. Ignore that. People who are lost in distraction will always criticize those who are locked in. You're not here to live like everyone else. You're here to become someone who finishes what they start. Who sets goals and actually hits them. You don't need balance. You need alignment. When your habits match your goals, everything feels more powerful. You don't have to force motivation when your actions are already moving in the right direction. Momentum builds naturally. Progress becomes addicting. You start to wake up excited, not drained. Every day, ask yourself one question. Did I move the goal forward today? If not, why not? What got in the way? What did I allow? That level of honesty builds self-awareness, and awareness is what keeps you from slipping into patterns that steal your focus. Ruthless focus also means working through boredom. Not everything will be exciting. Some days will be repetitive, but repetition is what sharpens your edge. It's what makes skill automatic. The people who win long-term are not the ones who always feel excited. They're the ones who keep going when it's dull. Stop switching directions every time it gets hard. That's the habit that kills most goals. They start something, lose interest, and switch to something else. That creates a cycle where nothing gets finished. Focus means you stay the course even when the payoff is far away. Especially then, because that's the moment where most people quit, and that's the moment where you separate yourself. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Every minute you give to distraction is a minute stolen from your purpose. Treat your time with seriousness. Track it if you have to. Audit your habits. See what's actually getting your energy. Most people don't have a time problem. They have a focus problem. You don't need more hours. You need more presence in the hours you already have. If you gave one goal your full attention for 6 months, you would shock yourself. Most people never even try. They live halfway. They give pieces of themselves to too many things and wonder why they feel empty. Focus is the fix. You are capable of levels of discipline you haven't even touched yet. But you won't get there by wishing. You'll get there by narrowing your view, ignoring the noise, and committing like your future depends on it, because it does. This is not about grinding until you collapse. It's about choosing your direction and locking into it like nothing else exists. Because when something matters, you give it everything. Not just effort, not just time, but full attention. That's how goals are crushed. That's how monsters are made. Through focused action that never stopped, through clear priorities backed by non-negotiable consistency. Don't chase everything. Don't let your mind get pulled in every direction. Choose your target and don't look away until it's yours. That's ruthless focus. And once you live that way, everything else starts to fall in place. Chapter 8. Refuse softness when hard choices appear. There will always be moments when you're faced with two paths. One is comfortable, quick, and easy. The other is uncomfortable, slow, and difficult. The first will feel better. It will require less of you. It won't challenge your identity, but the second is where you grow. The second is where strength is built. The second is where most people hesitate and walk away. What separates those who rise from those who stay the same is one thing: what they choose when it gets hard. If you want to build a life you're proud of, you must refuse softness when hard choices appear. Softness doesn't mean kindness. It means surrender. It's the part of you that says it's okay to quit early. It's the thought that tells you to wait until it's easier. It's the feeling that convinces you to take the short route when the long one is where you were meant to go. The hard choice is not just a task. It's a test. It's asking you, are you who you say you are? Refusing softness starts with awareness. You have to recognize when your mind is starting to look for the easy way out. It happens in small ways. You delay the workout. You avoid the difficult conversation. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You already know the moment it begins. That little shift in your tone, that mental bargain. You start leaning toward comfort, even though you know what needs to be done. If you want to grow, you can't entertain that voice. You have to stop giving it oxygen. You train your mind to reject softness by doing the exact thing you don't feel like doing. Not once, not twice, every time. You don't leave space for weakness to convince you. You step into the hard decision before you have a chance to talk yourself out of it. And you don't look back. That's how you rewire yourself. That's how you stop living on emotion and start living on purpose. The more you choose the hard road, the stronger you become. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally, internally. You build the type of strength that doesn't break when life applies pressure. You develop the kind of toughness that people feel when they're around you. It shows in your posture. It shows in your tone. It shows in the way you finish what you start. Most people don't realize how many opportunities they walk away from. Not because of fear, but because of softness. They don't want the inconvenience. They don't want the discomfort. They want results, but they don't want the process. And that mindset kills potential. Not loudly, slowly. Over time, you wake up one day and realize you've been making soft choices for years. And the cost is everything you could have become. You're not here to live a soft life. You're here to build yourself into something real. That happens through decisions that stretch you. You have to get used to choosing what doesn't feel good. Because if you only ever act when it's convenient, you'll only ever live within the limits of comfort. And nothing great lives there. Hard choices are the builders. They don't just build skills, they build character. Waking up early when you're tired, saying no when you want to say yes. Putting your ego aside and learning something new. These moments don't feel good in the moment, but afterward they leave something behind: strength, confidence, pride, self-respect. You earn those through sacrifice. You don't have to be extreme. You just have to be honest. Ask yourself, is this decision making me stronger or softer? Is it taking me toward who I want to be or away from it? That simple question will keep you on track more than any motivation ever could. Hard choices aren't about being harsh with yourself. They're about honoring the future you. The version of you that exists on the other side of effort, the one that's focused, clear, disciplined, and respected. Every soft choice delays that version. Every hard one brings it closer. You'll be tempted to justify the easier path. You'll call it balance. You'll call it self-care. You'll say it's not the right time. Be careful. Your brain is a master at giving you reasons to stay small. You have to be smarter than that. You have to know the difference between recovery and avoidance, between resting and quitting. Don't lie to yourself. You know when you're choosing ease out of fear. You also don't need approval. Don't expect people around you to always understand why you make hard decisions. Most people avoid discomfort. They won't always support the pressure you put on yourself. That's okay. Your life is your responsibility. You answer to your own standard. And that standard must be non-negotiable. Sometimes refusing softness means going without applause. Doing the work no one sees. Staying consistent when there's no reward in sight. That's where the real shift happens. When you act with integrity and intensity even when no one's watching. That's how you become someone that doesn't need motivation to move. You build grit by facing friction, by showing up when you're tired, by finishing when quitting feels easier. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need to decide that weakness doesn't get the final word anymore. That decision changes everything. It gives you power in moments most people fold. It gives you direction when others are still thinking. Discipline is not cold. It's love expressed through action. It's choosing to take care of your future more than your mood. You have to stop chasing what feels good right now and start chasing what builds a solid life. Softness offers pleasure. Hardness offers power. You get to choose which one matters more. And once you make the hard choice often enough, it stops feeling hard. Your baseline rises. Your expectations grow. You start seeking challenge instead of avoiding it. You begin to respect yourself in a new way. Not because you said the right things, but because you lived them. This mindset doesn't turn off. You carry it into your habits, your work, your relationships. You speak with clarity. You walk with certainty. You're no longer swayed by emotion or delay. You've trained yourself to lean into what most people turn away from. That's how transformation works. Not with some big announcement, but in private moments where you choose pressure over peace, growth over ease, action over comfort. Do that long enough, and you won't need to say a word. People will see it in how you live. They'll know you don't fold. They'll know you don't drift. They'll know you've built something inside that's unshakable. Refuse softness. Embrace the decision that hurts now but heals later. Walk into the hard path with purpose. Every time you do, you become more. And one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive the hard moments, you were shaped by them. And that's exactly how it was supposed to be. Chapter 9. Strength and Willpower Through Deliberate Suffering. Willpower is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Most people think they don't have enough of it. But the truth is they've never trained it. They've never pushed themselves far enough to find the breaking point and then stayed there. You can't develop strong will through comfort. You can't sharpen your mind by avoiding pressure. You can't unlock discipline by giving yourself everything you want. If you want to strengthen willpower, there's only one way. Deliberate suffering. This isn't about punishing yourself. It's about preparing yourself. You expose yourself to discomfort, by choice, so that when life brings it by force, you don't collapse. You create pressure on purpose so that when pressure shows up without warning, you don't fold. You suffer now in a controlled way so you don't suffer later in chaos. That's not cruelty. That's strategy. Suffering doesn't always mean pain. It means doing what's difficult without needing reward. It means holding the line when every part of you wants to walk away. It means staying in the hard place long enough to build something most people never find. Self-respect. Willpower grows through resistance. You place weight on the mind and train it to hold that weight longer over time. You start by choosing challenges, not the ones you enjoy, the ones you avoid, the early alarm that disrupts comfort, the cold shower that tests your nerves, the difficult task you keep pushing back. Each one is an invitation to suffer a little on purpose. And every time you accept that invitation, you get stronger. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, internally. Most people spend their whole lives avoiding this. They think ease equals happiness. But the more they avoid struggle, the weaker they become. They don't realize that by dodging discomfort, they're shrinking their tolerance. So when something real hits a failure, a setback, a hard season, they can't handle it. They break, not because life is too hard, but because they've never prepared for it. Deliberate suffering is how you prevent that. You don't wait for struggle. You create it in small daily doses. You make your own life harder in smart ways so that when the world gets harder, you're already ready. This mindset is rare. Most people chase convenience, but you're not most people. You're not trying to coast. You're trying to grow. And growth demands sacrifice. You have to start turning your back on comfort when it counts. That means no shortcuts when the work gets boring. No skipping the hard reps when your body gets tired. No postponing the difficult decision because it feels heavy. That's the suffering that builds something permanent, not the kind that breaks you, the kind that changes you. You'll feel the temptation to step away from it. That voice will say, just this once or you've done enough. That's when it matters most. Willpower isn't tested when things are easy. It's tested when you're drained. When the progress is slow, when no one's watching, you still choose to finish. You still choose to go forward. That's where the real switch happens. That's where the old version of you starts to die. Each moment you choose to suffer with purpose, your brain records it. It begins to see discomfort as normal. It stops overreacting. When pressure shows up, it stops searching for a way out. Every time things get tight, you build a new baseline. A stronger one. One that doesn't get thrown off by stress or failure. One that stays steady even when emotions get loud. This kind of training isn't glamorous. No one claps for you when you do it. There's no audience, just you in the hard moment. But that's exactly why it works. It's internal. It's silent. It's real. You don't need approval because the work speaks for itself. And that inner pride is more valuable than anything external. Deliberate suffering also reveals truth. It shows you what you've been avoiding. It shows you where you're weak. And that honesty is the beginning of real change. Most people lie to themselves. They say they're disciplined when they've never been tested. They say they're committed when they've never been pushed. Suffering strips away the lies. It brings clarity. And clarity is where transformation begins. The goal is not to live in pain. The goal is to build enough strength to walk through it without fear. You want to become the type of person who can handle heavy things without falling apart. That doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. And the choice is made daily. You don't need to look for dramatic suffering. You just need to find the resistance and stop running from it. The hard workout you want to skip, the boring routine you want to avoid, the uncomfortable decision you keep delaying. Face those things on purpose. Step into them with your eyes open. That's what builds grit. And grit matters because in life there will be moments where you don't get to choose the pain. It will show up whether you like it or not. And when it does, your only protection is what you've trained for. If you've been soft for years, you'll panic. If you've been forging strength through small daily trials, you'll stay composed. That calm under pressure is earned, not given. The pain you choose now is shaping the person you'll need to be later. When you push through the final rep, when you stay late to finish the job, when you say no to the shortcut, you're proving to yourself that you can rely on your own word. That proof builds self-trust, and self-trust builds unstoppable willpower. You won't always feel like doing it. That's why it works. If it were easy, it wouldn't change you. You get better by walking into the storm and not backing out. That's how you grow. That's how you lead. That's how you become the kind of person who keeps promises no matter the cost. Willpower is not something that just shows up when you need it. It's something that must be earned in silence. And you earn it every time you suffer on purpose and refuse to break. You don't flinch. You don't run. You face it. And in that facing, you evolve. Every hard choice you make makes the next one easier. Every challenge you walk into makes you more prepared for the next one. Over time, your baseline shifts. What used to feel impossible now feels normal. What used to overwhelm you now feels manageable. That's the payoff. And no one can give that to you. You have to go take it. So choose the suffering now. Not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself. Not to feel tough, but to be ready. Not to impress others, but to unlock a version of yourself you haven't met yet. That version lives on the other side of difficulty. You can't think your way into it. You have to walk through the fire. Do it again. Do it daily. Do it when it's inconvenient. Strengthen your will through deliberate suffering. And watch how your entire life starts to change quietly, powerfully, permanently. Chapter 10. Become unstoppable by mastering your nature. Mastering your nature is the final layer of power. It's what separates temporary success from unstoppable progress. Your nature is everything you default to when nobody's watching. It's the way you react to stress, the way you speak to yourself in silence, the way you behave when discipline slips and emotion takes over. If you never learn how to understand and command that part of yourself, you will always be a victim of your own patterns. It doesn't matter how motivated you are, how smart you are, or how many times you start over. If your nature controls you, it will keep pulling you back to the same level every time you try to rise. The real breakthrough doesn't happen when you learn new tactics. It happens when you take full ownership of the way you're wired and shape it to serve your mission. You have patterns built into you that go back years. You have habits that were never questioned, reactions that were never examined, stories you've told yourself that became rules. Those things are running the show far more than you realize. Mastering your nature means becoming deeply aware of those automatic responses and breaking the ones that weaken you. You can't ignore who you are. You confront it. You observe your tendencies without excuses. Do you avoid responsibility when it gets uncomfortable? Do you quit when you lose motivation? Do you blame others when things fall apart? These questions aren't easy, but without them, you'll keep spinning in circles thinking life is the problem when it's your lack of self-mastery. You are not supposed to erase your nature. You're supposed to refine it. The version of you that wins is not someone else. It's you without the noise, the lies, and the outdated behaviors. It's you sharper, you grounded, you under control. That only comes through a deep decision to stop living on autopilot. You don't just want change on the surface. You want transformation from the inside out. That starts by choosing to study yourself with honesty. What triggers your laziness? What makes you insecure? What thoughts keep pulling you off track? The deeper you go, the more control you get. And control is where freedom begins. The people you admire, the ones who seem unshakable, they didn't get that way by accident. They went through the fire of self-awareness. They stopped blaming the world. They stopped expecting their environment to fix their attitude. They made a commitment to govern themselves. That's what mastery looks like. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming consistent. You don't just act strong when it's easy. You live with clarity no matter how chaotic life gets. To master your nature, you have to install new defaults. You need rules that you live by. Even when emotion says otherwise, you train yourself to pause before reacting, to breathe instead of sing, to finish instead of walking away. These aren't tricks, they're discipline. They become part of who you are. And when you build them, you stop being a slave to impulse. You become someone who commands action on demand. This work is hard because it is quiet. No one claps for you when you choose discipline over comfort. No one celebrates when you rewrite the story in your head, but you feel it every time you act in alignment with your vision. Even when it's hard, you build power. Not the kind that shows up in public, but the kind that keeps you solid in private. There's a dangerous idea out there that you have to accept yourself exactly as you are. That's half true. You accept your worth. You accept your value, but you do not accept weakness. You do not protect bad habits with soft language. You do not defend laziness with fake compassion. If something is breaking you down, you remove it. If something is holding you back, you confront it. That's self-respect. That's mastery. You don't let your lower nature run your life while telling yourself it's okay. You upgrade it through repeated action. You will not become unstoppable because you never feel doubt. You become unstoppable because you don't let doubt lead. You hear it and move anyway. You feel fear and take the step. You get tired and still finish. That ability to act beyond emotion doesn't make you cold. It makes you reliable. It makes you dangerous to every excuse that once controlled you. Mastery requires time. You're not going to flip a switch and become a new person overnight. But every day is a chance to take back control. Every day is a chance to choose strength over comfort, clarity over confusion, discipline over chaos. The more you repeat those decisions, the more your nature begins to shift. You stop needing to force it. It becomes how you live. You also need to stop outsourcing your progress. No one's coming to fix your thinking. No one's going to force you to focus. This is your job, all of it. Mastering your nature means becoming the kind of person who doesn't need external pressure to stay sharp. You generate it from within. You keep promises when nobody is watching. You lead yourself without needing constant reminders. That kind of internal order changes your life more than anything else. The truth is, you already know what to do. You've always known. You just haven't trusted yourself enough to do it long enough. You've given in too many times. You've delayed too often. You've waited for the right moment. Mastery is built when you stop waiting. When you take what you have right now and you move. You act in spite of how you feel. You return every time you fall. You stay with the process when motivation dies. There will be days you want to give in. You'll feel tired, distracted, disconnected. That's fine. But those are the days that matter most. That's where mastery is tested. Not when you're excited, but when you're tempted to slide, you stay steady anyway. And when you do, you send a message to your nervous system. I'm in control now, not emotion, not habit. Me. And eventually, you'll look back and realize you don't break under pressure anymore. You don't fold when it gets tough. You don't lose momentum every time life gets inconvenient. You've become something different, something strong, something built, not born. That is what it means to master your nature. And when you do that, truly do that, nothing can stop you because you're no longer fighting the world. You've won the fight inside yourself, and that's the only one that ever really mattered.